For our next speech, we have an international speaker. So his name is David Roberts, and he's a marketeer who's heavily involved with the Baltic startup ecosystem. He's advising a couple of companies, and today he will give a half-hour talk about marketing tips and how to save money on clever marketing ideas. So I would like to welcome David onto the stage.
Well, good morning or good noon, Lithuania. My name is David Roberts, and today we'll be talking about subversive marketing tips and strategies for startups on a modest budget. Let's see if I can get the clicker right on the first try. No? All right. Well, in case we haven't met before, I have an international MBA from the University of South Carolina. I have a bachelor's degree in biochemistry from the University of Kansas, and I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Kazakhstan from 2002 to 2004, where I taught ecology, chemistry, and English to students in a village school near Karaganda. And due to that period of time, I'm also a Russian speaker, and that might be photoshopped, I don't know. But I think that's how all Russian speakers look. I had to throw that in there. I founded my business in 2008 after I left my job as the marketing director for Costa Rica Outward Bound. And I conduct marketing consulting on an international, mostly in the Baltic states and the Commonwealth of Independent States, with some exceptions on the outside. But I know firsthand what it's like to run a business. I, too, am an entrepreneur. And it doesn't hurt that I have an MBA, but I can tell you there's a lot of difference between running things within academia and in the real world. Fortunately for me, I work mostly from Minnesota, and thanks to the powers of the internet, I only really have to travel as needed. But for a while, I actually also dabbled in media production. I have a dark comedy called Orderly Chaos, which nobody ever wants to watch, but you can watch it online if you'd like. And I produced a children's educational show called MECTEP to teach children English as a foreign language. Those didn't work out. It didn't get picked up. And there was times when I was running my business where failure seemed imminent, and then totally not. I diversified, or I cut things off that didn't work. But I will tell you as an entrepreneur that success is an event, and failure is an event. They are not states of being. You can have a whole lot of successful events and a whole lot of failures, but that is not who you are, because what you are is an entrepreneur. And the truth about being an entrepreneur is that there's a constant struggle to achieve your goals. You're much like that Greek hero Sisyphus, pushing the boulder up the hill. And there's the uncertainty of the future. You don't know if the market's going to collapse or if your idea is going to be the next big thing. And you face pressure from peers to give up on your goals to take the day job, which is more stable. I understand. But entrepreneurs must be the coyote, and there's a lot of positive associations with that in Native American cultures where they're resourceful, they're wily, they're very clever. But I'd like you to specifically be this coyote. At one scene, you're plummeting off a cliff to certain failure and doom, only to be strapping a rocket to your body and alive and well and on to the next venture in the next scene. That's what being an entrepreneur is about. So today I'll talk about what works within my own business and how it could be applied to yours, with a little bit of an asterisk. What I mean exactly by subversive marketing. I was on a project in Beijing, China, giving a presentation to a poverty reduction organization. And at the end of my talk, they actually asked me if I didn't consider my proposals to be subversive. And I thought, well, because knowledge is empowering, and in the right hands, it could be considered subversive. So with that definition, then yeah, subversive marketing. But for those other marketing consultants out there that are selling Rolls-Royce marketing plans, these tips are mostly for startups that can't afford $6,000 pieces of marketing. And if you are the kind of startup that can afford a $6,000 piece of marketing, you can call me. Please do, actually. I'll provide those for you as well. But let's talk about framing the issues. What happens when you find $5 on the ground? You feel pretty good, don't you? It's a beer, not bad. What happens when you lose $5? You feel awful. You feel cheated. It's terrible. It ruins your day. And that's because the mind latches on to perceived losses. It's called loss aversion. And the absolute value of losing something in your mind is greater than the absolute value of gaining something. To put it in some sort of perspective, it means that if you find $5, then lose that same $5, you will feel worse than if you'd never found the $5 to begin with. And you can actually apply that. Well, those were the droids he was looking for, actually, so it's a big loss. But frame your messages as potential losses. For instance, developers who don't use TrackDuck will be losing a lot of time and be unable to compete. HR is a bargain investment right now, but as soon as businesses discover how augmented reality can be applied to their marketing campaigns, it will not be. Your e-shop needs to be mobile, or it won't be any type of shop much longer, so you need mobility be. Frame your messages as potential losses, and you will put a sense of urgency in your audience. So your brand, what is it, your brand? It's everything that it means. It's your logo. It's what people think of it. It's what industry you sit in. And how do you generate your brand when you're just starting out? Because you need positive brand associations. You want to be good, but you also want to be cool. How do you get there when you have no track record? Well, first little deviation here, I must confess, I was not always cool. It's true. No, seriously, it's true. Back in high school, I was into theater, and I was kind of the class clown. It was fun. But at the end of a play performance, I was actually asked to the prom by the most unpopular girl in school. So what happened? She became more popular. I became less popular. And if you've ever seen that movie, She's All That, where he takes the nerd girl to prom, and she becomes this super hot babe, it doesn't work like that in real life. Let me tell you, and that's because of balance theory. Balance theory explains how we relate to different ideas and concepts and people depending largely on how they are connected to other ideas, concepts, and people. So let me explain how it related to my situation. I had a positive association with the unpopular girl and a positive association with the cool kids. But they unfortunately had a negative association with the unpopular girl. Something had to change. The universe does not like things to be out of balance. And therefore, to balance the equation, they gained a negative affinity towards me and kept their negative affinity towards the unpopular girl. And in some cases, it became positive for the unpopular girl rather, so she gained some friends. But your brand itself is much like the debutante at the ball, and you should be looking for the best brand associations possible. And how do you achieve that? Charity work. I myself do volunteer work with anti-human trafficking organizations. It's a form of selfish altruism, and that you're generating goodwill in exchange for press releases and talking about what a great company you are. You can actually use an organization called Global Hand that vets and makes sure charities and not-for-profits are legitimate in certain industries. So why did I accept that offer to prom from the unpopular girl? Probably ego depletion, because your mind is like a muscle. It only has a finite amount of strength and ability to negotiate and do things. So after my play performance, I was mentally tired. I was not able to negotiate so well. But how can we apply that? Well, I'll tell you what, if you're a startup and you're meeting with investors and they offer you a cookie, eat the cookie. If you're having guests over and you want to negotiate some better thing, offer them the cookie. If somebody offers you a drink, you should take the drink. But obviously, I don't advocate negotiating irresponsibly, so don't get too drunk with this. But the act of refusal gives an advantage in negotiations. Oops, there it is. Wrong button. So my advice to you lonely guys out there is that when you're at the end of the date, offer your date the dessert cart, something really gooey and tasty. If she refuses, your negotiations will go much better later that night. And to you girls out there, eat the cake. Yeah. Let's talk about schmoozing, though, because before you get to the negotiations, you're probably going to have to do a lot of schmoozing. And what I mean by schmoozing is networking, shaking hands, attending cocktail parties. And it's such an uncommon word in English, but I'll say it for you. You got to schmooze, baby, schmooze. You got to get out there and talk to people, shake hands, schmooze. That's what you need to do. But there's a science to schmoozing. It's called social networking theory. And that explains how we all interact with each other within groups. The science of schmoozing. So what are these social networks? And I'm not talking about social media websites, which are great facilitators of social networks. They're your grandma's knitting club, your sister's Star Trek fan club, your uncle's motorcycle gang. Once you've identified the social networks which you wish to be a part of, should you just go out there and fling your business cards at them and just say, poof, here I am? No, because you'll put somebody in the hospital, your business cards in the eyes. You don't need that. It's very dangerous. You should identify within those social networks the links who are the people that share multiple memberships in different social networks, like your grandma, who's also a Harley-Davidson enthusiast. No? Okay, just me. The hubs, who are the most important members of the social media groups. They're the people that are the club president, the people that update the social media websites. Those are the hubs. If you get your marketing material and your business card in the hands of the links in the hubs, it'll be much more effective and go further, saving you a lot of time. But after you've been schmoozing, they're going to Google search you, inevitably. So you need to be online. And there's an application of mere exposure theory on that. Now, mere exposure theory states that every time you're exposed to something, you're going to gain an affinity towards it. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not a huge Justin Bieber fan. But some people like him. But if you're driving down the road and you hear a Justin Bieber song, the first time, if you're like me, you just change the radio and say, oh, no, it's the Biebs, don't need that. But eventually, you're going to start singing along with his songs. You're going to say, baby, baby. And that's because after a certain amount of time, you gain affinity towards the things you've been exposed to. That's why Bieber is so popular. So with that application, you should put your brand and logo on every social media website that you can. Take advantage of AdWords. Practice some search engine optimization, though I understand that a lot of those algorithms have been thrown out. And make use of the company blog. That thing needs to be updated once or twice a month at the bare minimum. And using the company blog, you can poke the outside world with press releases, videos, and shareable links. And with those links that are outgoing to somebody else's website and incoming to yours, it's like a sort of currency to bloggers. And that bloggers are always monitoring their incoming links. And you can use that knowledge to reach out to important bloggers within the industry that you're in. So identify the leading industry bloggers. Link to them with your company website, or even put something in the sidebar. They will pay attention to that, and the relationship will begin. Now, with bloggers, you can do interviews, you can advertise on their website, which is good because they're usually looking for money. They're poor, so it's not too expensive. And you can offer them access to your beta, and they'll write product reviews, not to mention a steady stream of incoming links. Now, video, you should apply mere exposure theory to as well, and that you should upload your video to every social or video storage site that you can. Now, I have seen some very good videos, but ranging in prices between about $600 and $50,000. That's a little expensive for startups that are just trying to get out there. So in-house media production seems to be the best solution to that. If you can borrow an HD camera through your network of friends and get a tripod, because otherwise the camera footage will be very shaky. It'll look like you have some sort of disease. And using Google Glass for a first-person perspective. Also, the webcam is going to be useful for certain things. For the types of clips, I see most of you, or a lot of startups, are going to be presenting at Login today. Take that recording and put it up online onto those different sites I mentioned. If things didn't go so well today, like you messed up, and I understand, do a controlled pitch back at your office. Put that up online. In other cases, you can do a first-person point of view, which I really like to see with Google Glass. If you're too ugly like me, you might want to do a narrated slideshow. But in that case, you're going to need a microphone and a pop stopper. Pop stoppers can be a little expensive, but if you don't have a stopper, you're going to sound like a 1980s rap star, and that's not good for a startup. So what you'll need is some pantyhose and a coat hanger, and you can put it together, and you will have a cheap pop stopper that's very effective for what you need. But my tip to you is don't buy those at the same time, because the clerks at the store will think you're a weirdo. So buy some apples too, or something. Making a pop stopper. Don't. But staff interviews are good too. Interview the CEO or the chief technical officer. Interview the people that are the most enthusiastic about your brand and product. Try to avoid the people that aren't so enthusiastic about it. You don't need to put a gun to their head to get them to talk. I like time-lapse effects. When people are putting on a hackathon, I really enjoy when they speed time up so it looks like they're ants flying around with music, yakety sax. It's a wonderful way to show people how enthusiastic your office is about working. For editing software, I like Final Cut Pro, Premiere Pro, and After Effects for my special effects. And eventually, you're going to have to make your own graphics. And when that day comes, you need to understand Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop. And this is because they're what your freelancers are going to use. If you don't understand what your freelancers are using, you don't understand what it is you're paying for, and you may pay a little bit more money. And also, if you understand how to use these products, you can make your own graphics and not have to pay anybody. So that's kind of a positive thing. But on a total side note here, I'd like to tell you how important I think it is that you're being a startup in the Baltic states. And that's because the net impact of a startup here is greater than what happens in San Francisco. I mean, there's doing a lot of great things in the Bay Area, of course, but it just doesn't have the net impact. And that's because entrepreneurs are the real defenders of the realm. They provide economic growth and stability, and you give hope and pride to your family, friends, and neighbors. And I honestly couldn't be more honored to be working with you. So with that, please come to my website, send me an email, follow me on Twitter. If you write me, I will write you back. And I will offer you happy hunting and good luck. Yep.